Hey, welcome on today's edition of The Time Blueprint. We're talking about money mistakes that you're going to regret and how to avoid them. We're going to try to learn from the mistakes of others on today's episode, Frank. Walter Storholt alongside Frank Oliver. This is The Time Blueprint. We're going to talk about those mistakes, how to avoid them, why it's so important to do so, and the big difference it's going to make in your financial plan. So, Frank, you ready to roll?
Let's do this.
All right, let's get it.
All right.
Welcome to The Time Blueprint with Frank Oliver of Oliver Asset Management. Here we break down taxes, income, money, and estate planning, giving you the tools to make informed financial decisions and aim for better retirement outcomes. Your host is financial advisor Frank Oliver, the president and founder of Oliver Asset Management. He's the author of Your Time Is Now, sharing the essentials you need to know to craft a comprehensive and customized retirement plan. Dive in with us as we offer clear strategies and straightforward advice, all designed to empower you in your financial journey. Welcome to The Time Blueprint. On today's show, we're also going to answer a great listener question from Gwen, who's got a question about whole life insurance policies. Right. So we'll dive into that a little bit later on today's show. And we're talking about winter activities in a little bit as well. So looking forward to all of that with you, Frank. And we'll talk money mistakes in a second, too. But hope you're doing well.
Back at you. You had a good weekend?
It was a good weekend. We what did we do? We went hiking and got up in the mountains and just had a good time.
Yeah. Kicked around in the snow a little bit?
Kicked around. A little bit of snow left.
Yeah.
Kicked around in that.
Yeah, good.
And tried not to slip and fall and break any necks or anything like that.
I hear you.
So,
Yeah.
It was good stuff.
Yeah.
So
Good.
I like this time of year. So.
I do too.
Yeah.
It was a big, I can't say it was a surprise snowstorm, but Colorado's always that way this time of year. It goes from 70 to 15 degrees and a foot of snow. So we got quite a bit of snow where we live. So
and then it backs off for a couple of days and you're good, then comes back. So.
I like the change of seasons. It's
just
exciting
that time of
year.
Yeah. We have Thanksgiving around the corner. Any big plans?
No, we usually get together with the family. My dad's traveling. He goes to Texas. He went to Texas this year to get out of the snow. He left just in time. So, I'm not sure.
Take it easy this year.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's good to hear.
Maybe we'll go skiing.
Are you a big turkey
Love
fan?
turkey.
Okay. So you're not
Love Thanksgiving.
You don't do the alternative foods. You go traditional.
Yeah, you can do alternative foods any other day, right?
Yeah.
So, I do like the turkey. We do the stuffing. My grandma's traditional stuffing recipe.
Not the store-bought stuff.
No, we dry breadcrumb. We dry bread out. We go buy white bread, dry it out for 3 days, and use all the juice from the turkey. And
nice.
It's a real deal.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried the turducken?
Once.
Okay.
Once. Not at a family Thanksgiving, but probably somebody else's. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Our family's way too traditional.
Yeah, that's just too
It's
too
okay,
out there.
though.
It's too out there. Yeah, I'm not a turkey fan, so
Is that right?
I typically will do duck on Thanksgiving.
I like duck.
I like duck a lot.
Yeah,
so.
I like duck.
Yeah, it's a challenge to cook it. I guess turkey is too, but it's very challenging to cook duck the right way.
Dry it out.
So you don't dry it out or undercook it like I did one Thanksgiving, but. We'll save that story for another day.
Do they have duck turkin?
Duck turkin.
You do not have duck turkin.
That'd have to be a small. That'd have to be a small turkey, right?
You just wrap it with some turkey or something, right? Some turkey bacon.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. Well, hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving and enjoy. We did skiing last Thanksgiving, which we kind of were like, maybe we should do that as our tradition every year. This was fun. So
yeah, we've skied on Thanksgiving and Christmas, and the last time we skied on Christmas. We were the only two on the slope.
Wow, that's great.
I think everybody, kids at home unwrapping gifts, and so we kind of had the mountain to ourselves. So it was
worked
nice.
out nicely for you.
Nice,
that's very cool. All right, well, let's talk about these money mistakes and how we can avoid them. Our main topic of the day. It was Eleanor Roosevelt, by the way, who said, "Learn from the mistakes of others. You can't live long enough to make them all yourself," which is a great quote.
We're trying.
I like that. Yeah. We can try to make all the mistakes, but even if you're trying, it's hard. So if you are the kind of person that likes to avoid mistakes in the first place, this will be a good episode for you. We're going to talk about some of those do's and don'ts about your money. So at least 5 main points to cover here. Frank, first one on the list is people who take premature IRA withdrawals tend to end up regretting that.
And they should. There are some IRS exceptions that you can get out of the 10% penalty for the free withdrawal. First time homeowner purchase, there's some healthcare clauses in there, some disability clauses in there. So there are some ways that you can get out of paying the 10% penalty. You'll never get out of paying taxes on the IRA withdrawal. So if you're working and that IRA withdrawal puts you in a higher tax bracket, that in its own as a penalty.
Sure.
But you do want to avoid the 10% penalty, and if you can't, you can't. So you want to avoid taking pre 59 IRA distributions at all costs. And I think a good way to do that, I mean, if you have,
why do people dip in to their retirement accounts first of all?
Yeah, and I think it's good that, well, for an emergency, right? Okay. And maybe it's not even an IRS qualified emergency, but it's an emergency. So, I guess on one hand, if you're being irresponsible, you just should not do that. But if it's an emergency and you've saved money in an IRA, it's unfortunate that you have to pay the penalty. You should probably pat yourself on the back that at least you have money in an IRA, because some people don't even do that,
sure.
Right? So pat yourself on the back there, but I think you should probably make sure that you have enough liquidity.
So that's the ailment is not having a good emergency fund,
right?
Is why people then typically go to dip into those.
Right. Yeah, we usually recommend 6 to 12 months cash, based on your budgets, and it depends on if you're working or you're retired. It may take 6 months to find another job.
Yeah.
So
if you're a single income household or two,
right? Exactly. So there's a lot of variables there, but I mean, congratulations, kudos for having money in an IRA. Unfortunately, you had to pull it out. But again, look at a plan and just make sure that you got enough cash, to satisfy expenses so you don't have to pay that 10% penalty, because that hurts.
Yeah. I think what's telling, I'm going to guess the answer here, but tell me if I'm wrong. I'm going to guess you never had anybody that said, boy, taking out those early withdrawals from my IRA was the best decision I ever made.
Never.
Like, I got in on Bitcoin early because I cashed out my 401k.
Right. I love to give the IRS more money than I need to. That's everybody's favorite thing, right?
Right. That doesn't happen, right?
No, it doesn't happen.
Right.
Just watch your expenses, watch your budget, have some money saved for emergencies. Don't overspend, where you get caught with some surprise expenses on, because you have too big of a car payment or something like that. So just basic common sense a lot of times.
I have felt the pressure before of, I got to save for retirement, and overfunding the retirement while leaving that emergency fund exposed, because you're like, it's not earning anything, and I could be saving more for retirement. I want to max out an account, or I want to add in extra over here and save it from a young age. But then, you can see where that, if you do that, that can leave you vulnerable to an issue down the line.
Absolutely. Yeah, you definitely got to make sure your buckets are prioritized. You have your emergency bucket full, your retirement bucket that shouldn't be full, but that you're constantly funding, and then your taxable bucket as well. But you have to have emergency funds. That will avoid that 10% penalty.
Okay, very good. So the mistake is premature IRA withdrawals. How to avoid it? Get that emergency fund in place.
Right.
Another money regret that people have expressed before, a money mistake, would be, I spent way too much money in my peak earning years. Right. This is that lifestyle creep, right?
Yeah, the lifestyle creep is a certain with a lot of people. We call it keeping up with the Joneses.
Sure.
And unfortunately, it happens to the best of us. I see people, that are very modest earners retiring with a very fat retirement account. And I see people that are very good earners that are retiring with a compromised retirement account. I think they do kind of get caught up in that keeping up with the Joneses. And I think if you want to go out and enjoy yourself and have a little bit of fun, and you're a big earner, and you got a big college degree, and you have an incredibly stressful job, and you're putting in 60 hours a week, there's nothing worse than having all that sacrifice and not being able to enjoy a little bit of that throughout your life, right?
Along the way,
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think we kind of battle that ourselves, even my wife and me. But I think it comes down to the time plan again. And I know I constantly refer to that, but if you know what your budget is, you know what you're putting in a 401k, you know how many years you have before retirement, I think that you can, if you want to buy an RV or a condo in Florida, you just want a fishing boat or whatever it is, I think that you can make that purchase very strategically and in an educated manner if you actually have a plan that we build for our people. That way you can go out and spend money and not feel irresponsible about doing so, because it's nice to have a good life if you've earned it and you've worked for it.
Sure.
But, if you're doing it without having the numbers in front of you, it's irresponsible. I think you need to have that format laid out.
And maybe it sounds more like it's an issue of priorities. Like, let's take care of retirement, but then if we know we're comfortable there, now we can then start having a little bit more fun, or some of this Joneses or lifestyle creep is okay then, because now we've taken care of the future.
Yeah.
Too many people, it sounds like, though, it's just too far the other way.
Sure.
They're forsaking the future to have that fun now.
Very well said. I do run into people on occasion that have more money in a car than they do in their retirement account.
Yeah.
They'll have more money tied up in Apple products, Apple electronics,
Sure.
than they do in a retirement account. And,
Yeah.
you got to watch that. You have to create that balance for sure.
Good points across the board.
Yep.
Okay, very good. So try not to spend too much in your peak earning years. Nobody really ever comes in and goes, man, I saved way too much for retirement.
Right. I wish I wouldn't have done that.
I wish I wouldn't have done
I'm not going to
that.
have any fun spending that money.
Right. Yeah. Now you may say, I should have had a little more fun along the way, but that I'm going to guess it's not like this soul crushing regret. Right?
There's always that gravestone that they tell you about. You're never going to write on your gravestone, I should have worked another 5 years and saved more. Nobody ever wants that on their gravestone. I get it, but you got to have that balance in our world. So
all right, good points.
Yep.
All right, let's talk about kids and tuition. And there's a lot of folks that regret paying so much for their kids' tuition, or maybe just in general keeping kids maybe on the payroll for an extended period of time after they've left the nest, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think I've learned a lot of this from my clients, and that's one thing that I think people can take away from talking to an advisor or an estate planning attorney is the stories that we've heard and the successes and regrets from people coming into the office where, I'll have folks in their 70s, 80 years old, 80-year-old clients, and their kids are extremely successful, and they credit that to, my kids had skin in the game. We did not fully fund their college. They had to have skin in the game, and I think that made them much more accountable in being responsible towards getting their education.
Yeah.
And I think it showed them the value of the dollar and the value of having that expense and paying for something versus just having it handed to you. So I think there's some importance in that. And again, just good learning experiences and conversations that I've had with my clients, and that seems to be a winning recipe for people is making the kids pay for part of that college.
Have you ever had to look at somebody's budget or what they're spending, their expenses when they come in to meet with you, and kids are on the payroll to an extent where it's hurting their retirement planning?
Yeah. This is coming from somebody that may think on the other end of the rainbow on this or the other end of the scale. My dad was a do-it-yourselfer, and he was raised as a farmer in West Virginia. So when it comes to pulling up your bootstraps and going to work, that's how I was taught. So I do see a lot of parents that are on the other end of that spectrum where they do, I think, overgive to their kids. And, it's not really my place to say, but when we do look at that retirement plan and they're compromising their future by, by maybe overtaking care of the kids, I think that's, something that the plan, again, comes into play. When you determine that you're going to have to work another 10 years because you gave too much to your children, and that may compromise their life and it's compromising your retirement, it's definitely something you want to take a look at. Yeah,
that's where an advisor can also then show you, look, this is how it's costing you. It's your decision whether you want to continue with this support in this way, but just so you understand the impact it's having on you.
Right.
Having that extra set of eyes can be really helpful.
Right. Yep.
All right, another retirement regret, a money mistake that you will regret if you commit these situations. Oops, I retired a bit too early, and now it's costing me.
Right.
Pulling that trigger a little too soon can be a big issue, right?
Yeah, we have a lot of battles in the office over that. So, we have, we'll have the clients or prospective clients come in, and one of the spouses wants to retire, and the other one says, we can't. We got another 5 years. We got another 10 years. And I think, again, it comes down to the plan, Walter. Right?
Yeah.
What's your budget? How much have you saved? What's your Social Security benefits? And what do you want your lifestyle to look like in retirement? Something that a lot of people do not realize is another 3 years in the workforce can add another 8 to 10 years to your retirement.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So we call it 3 = 10. And those numbers, have some, they'll change from time to time. But if you figure you work another 3 years, You're paying off debt for another 3 years.
Sure.
You're saving for another 3 years. You can delay Social Security for another 3 years. There's a lot of factors that go into play that just kind of compound on top of themselves.
You're allowed to save more in those accounts, right? I mean, it's small amounts,
catch-up
but
provision.
still catch-ups,
Absolutely.
right?
Catch-up provision, delaying Social Security, paying off the mortgage for another 3 years.
All that snowballs, kind of.
Yeah, absolutely does. We're living 3 years less. So, I don't know if that's something we want to talk about.
It's a more morbid way to look at it, but,
sooner.
But it is true, right?
It is true.
You'll be retired for 3 years less.
That's right, exactly. So yeah.
Funny.
I don't retire too early until you look at the plan.
Yeah.
You know? So
and not just financial, right? Like this is an emotional question too, of like maybe you retire and were you ready to retire? Like maybe mentally you actually retired too early because you wanted to keep, you should have kept working for a couple more years just because you didn't have really a plan of how you were going to spend your time in retirement.
Right. And I think mentally, that's something we can't overcome here in the office. But, if you're mentally ready to retire, it's tough to go into work every day. I see clients, that are just incredibly frustrated with their positions. And, now it comes down to your health versus, financial. So then maybe you look at making a financial lifestyle change, maybe downsize the house or something like that. But I don't think you just want to just wake up one morning and say, honey, I'm going to retire without looking at everything to see if it makes sense. And a lot of people do that. We call it throwing the dart. There's a lot of throw the dart plans out there, where it's like, okay, that's where it landed. Let's just do this. And that's not a recipe for a good outcome.
When you're younger, I suppose you can wake up and say, you know what, I'm quitting my job today and I'll figure something else out. It's a lot harder to do that when you're closer to retirement. You're not, say what you want about age discrimination and things like that, but I think anybody would agree it's a fact if you're close to retirement, it's going to be hard to go find a new job in a lot of ways.
It is, and I think you got more to risk at retirement, right? Most people will still have a mortgage. They need to know that their money's going to last as long as they do. There's some risks at retirement, and a retirement date is one of the toughest decisions you'll ever make. We call it, a graduation, marriage, first kid, and retirement. There's 4 big ones out there, 3 or 4 big ones, and retirement is at the top of the list.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep.
All right, so make sure you don't pull that trigger too early. Go through the planning process so that, when you work with clients, you want when that retirement date comes, there to be 100% confidence that they're doing the right thing.
Right. It's and again, call us or come see us, but our retirement planning approach and technique, we'll put in the retirement date, the budget, the Social Security benefits, all of the numbers, and it's really cool once we get it built. We can adjust that retirement date. So we just change the retirement date and it recalculates all of those numbers every single year. So if you want to retire today, we can show you the outcome.
Right.
If you want to retire in 1 year or 5 years or 10 years, we can show you the outcome. But at least you can make an educated decision. And if you're fried, you're fried.
But you bring up a great point. If you do the planning process now, even if you're a couple of years away from actually retiring, you can start planning for it now. And then if something happens in life where you're like, oh, I need to move across the country to go take care of my mom.
Sure.
And I can't keep working. If I do that 2 years soon, what am I looking at now? And you guys can have quick answers for now the new reality of their retirement situation if they pull that trigger.
Yeah, and again, if you have the plan, you can create the solution, you know, and the solution may be making an adjustment here or there, but if you have the plan, you can make the solution and make it work.
Yeah, so very good. All right, last one, money mistakes you'll regret, how to avoid them, talking solutions today as well. Maybe I should have investigated opportunities for Roth IRAs or Roth contributions. Right. This is an overlooked element in a lot of people's plans.
Yeah. So have you ever spelled time before?
Yes.
The time process?
Yes.
Yeah, the time podcast?
The time podcast.
What does T stand for?
We've got taxes.
Time stands for taxes, exactly. I think a lot of people miss the Roth opportunity, and I think it's unfortunate. Every CPA, every plan administrator, every financial planner should know about a Roth IRA, and they should be offering this advice to their clients. Roth IRAs are incredibly powerful, and the timing on when to do a Roth can be challenging. That part's challenging for sure. As far as what tax bracket are you in, if you're going to do conversions, what tax bracket are you going to be in the future? If you're doing conversions, does it make sense? But with all that being said, we can get into the weeds for days on the technicalities and the mathematics and the tax brackets surrounding Roth IRAs and tax-free income. But if you look at this from a really basic standpoint, Do you want taxable income or tax-free income?
Tax-free sounds pretty good.
Do you want your family to get money taxable, or do you want your family to get money tax-free?
I'm going to go with tax-free. Yeah,
exactly. So, if we look at this from an insurance perspective, and down the road that you're going to have X amount of dollars somewhere tax-free, that you can take a vacation, pay for an expense, satisfy an emergency, whatever that situation is, it just makes sense. And, I always encourage people not to really, we'll get into the weeds with them as much as they want on the fundamentals and the mathematics, but really just at least educate yourself on, on traditional IRAs versus Roth IRAs, traditional 401ks versus Roth 401ks.
Right.
Educate yourself. Ask somebody so you can make that decision and at least know down the road I should be looking into this. Don't be blind by this.
As a non-financial advisor, I look at this as like there's a lot of question marks when it comes to planning for retirement. Yeah. That's why we're able to make a whole podcast out of it and talk about it in all these different ways every episode. Why we can do the YouTube channel and have videos and all these other cool things, and why there's such a market for this advice and guidance. Right. Roth helps take away at least one of the question marks.
Absolutely.
If there's $1 million in the account, it's $1 million.
That's right.
There's not this what if taxes due X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Once that money's in that account, that's the money that's in there.
Yeah.
So
at a 22% tax bracket, $1 million is worth $780.
Yeah, there you go. Right. Big difference.
Huge difference.
So it's just dealing with a little bit more certainty in your plan can have a lot of value to me as a layperson, saving, investing, and learning about this. So very cool. Sure. There you go. Money mistakes you regret and how to avoid them. Frank, did we miss any that you want to kind of bring to the forefront?
I think that was a great session. No, that was well covered.
Good enough list. Maybe we'll do a part 2 on this at some point in the future. Very good. If you have questions for Frank, you want to come in for a complimentary review of your financial plan, see where you stand right now, how to get to where you want to be into the future, go through the planning process, and Frank will draw up that time blueprint that we mention every week here on the show. If you want to set up that time to visit, you can go and use the online calendar, schedule from your smartphone or computer. Just go to oliverassetmanagement.com. You can find that link in the description of today's show, or you can call 720-897-TIME. Call 720-897-8463 if you've got any questions that you want to go over before you come in to visit. Don't forget, you can pick up a copy of Your Time Is Now, the book that Frank is the author of, talking all about that time blueprint process and just helping you in general understand a little bit more about what it takes to properly plan for retirement. So don't hesitate to reach out if you've got any of those questions at all. All right, time to get to know you a little bit better here, Frank. And since we're turning that corner into winter now, I'm just curious, what's your favorite winter?
We turned that corner quick, didn't we?
We did turn the corner quickly this year, yes. What is your favorite winter activity?
My favorite winter sport. Is that on air?
I think it just blinked a little bit.
Yeah, that's all right. I kind of like it. It gives it a little disco effect.
It is kind of cool, yeah.
Definitely snowmobiling.
Snowmobiling,
yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Nice.
So I'm a native of Colorado. I have skied for years.
Okay.
I've snowshoed. I've snowshoed to the backside of Twin Peaks up at Rocky Mountain National Park.
Cool.
That's a calf rancher for sure.
Nice.
Good. It's beautiful up there, but snowmobiling is by far my all-time sport.
Oh,
my all-time favorite
cool.
sport. Yeah.
Only done it once. Back in North Carolina, I would go jet skiing a lot.
Yeah.
We'd go down to the beach, do that all the time.
Snow.
It's like that in snow.
Totally.
Did it for the first time last winter, had a blast.
Yeah.
In the middle of a storm, so it was pretty cool up at the top of the
you're rolling
pass.
with me this year.
Yeah,
I'm
perfect.
taking you out,
Let's do it.
Wyoming.
Let's do
we go
it.
to Snowy Mountain Range.
Oh, very cool. Okay.
Yes,
A little bit more open. And
well, the mountain range is about the same. It's just you don't have to fight I-70. So
well, that is definitely worth it.
You don't have to
there.
fight I-70, exactly.
Yeah, that takes a little bit of the fun out of any mountain trip, doesn't
Totally,
it?
yeah.
Very good. Well, I guess I'll have to pick, although snowmobiling was fun, we only did it once. I would say just, snowboarding is what we did.
Okay. Nice. I was going to ask you if you're a boarder or skier.
I've been thinking about, we did snowboarding last year.
Okay.
I've been thinking about just trying skiing this year, just to compare and
absolutely.
see how they both go. And then that way, going into the future, I'll know which one I really want to go after.
Yeah. So how capable are you at snowboarding?
I mean, I'm okay.
Good? You're legit?
I mean, I can make it down without killing myself.
Well, I'm saying, so I was a very capable skier, and I tried to do the transition on skiing to snowboarding, and it was a tough transition, so I immediately went back to skiing.
Okay, so I like snowboarding, but I will say I get frustrated with how you can be just going along, feeling very comfortable, and you lose focus for a quarter of a second.
Yep.
And the fall is just so immediate.
It's brutal.
When that front end digs in.
When you catch that front edge. Yeah, it's like the power slam on your face. It's horrible.
And I know you can have some pretty serious spills in skis, I would imagine.
Yeah,
but it just seems like do you get caught less by surprise, at least skiing?
I have never slammed myself on a chest as hard as I did learning to snowboard, catching that front edge. I've never done
I thought
skiing.
I ruptured my spleen once on one fall this.
Yeah.
Because the back legs come up over, I think scorpion they call that. Or,
Right. And you don't want to mess up that hair.
Yeah, the hair. I mean, come
right.
on. I think the helmet does a pretty good job of that. But yeah, I did. This is a very funny story. So we were on the mountain. We were taking some lessons. I had gone up from like the intro level to like, okay, I was actually, starting to do some
intermediate
stuff.
Dude,
yeah, a little intermediate. And it was cool. Nobody else was at that level that day. So it was literally me and the instructor just carving it up. Like just the two of us having a good time. He was like, you're getting basically a private lesson for the price of a group lesson. I was like, this is great. And I was doing really well. And then I was trying to show off for him because he had gone up ahead and then wanted to see how I was doing something. So I tried to take this turn, just messed up, fell. And the cheap stuff that I'd bought, literally the ski pants, just exploded. They ripped off. They ripped off. So like I had all the stuffing in the pants, like just shooting out the rest of the day. I love it. It was embarrassing.
You can't skip on your equipment.
No, you can't.
You can't.
Learned that very quickly.
Yeah.
If it's $30, it's not gonna last.
Drink cheap beer, buy good equipment, right?
There you go. Yes. That's a great point. There you go. Winter activities. It's that time. Let us know what your favorite winter activity is. If you're watching on YouTube, leave a comment in the comments section and let us know your favorite activity. Maybe we'll feature a comment in a future episode.
Absolutely.
All right. It's time to answer one of our listener questions. Let's turn the page over to a good one from Gwen. All right, Frank. So Gwen's question is, I have a whole life insurance policy that's very expensive. So I'm thinking about canceling it and getting a much cheaper term policy. Okay. I had breast cancer almost 10 years ago, but that hasn't been a problem for a while. So I don't expect that to present any problems with the new policy. Is there any reason I shouldn't go ahead and terminate the whole life policy and use the cash value that's built up for something else?
I think there's advantages and disadvantages to both. Term insurance is obviously very inexpensive from a cash flow perspective, right?
Sure.
Premiums are incredibly low on term insurance. So you can buy
one of the few things that's gotten less expensive over the years.
Right, exactly. But there's a reason for that because 90% of term life insurance policies don't pay out.
Right.
Because actuarially, they know you're not going to die. That's why they set that term and set their premium accordingly. So cash flow, it's good. I think it's good for paying off a mortgage, spousal income replacement, paying for college education when you're in your younger years. I think as you get older in age, and those term policies are in a position to term out or expire, it's going to be very difficult to replace that insurance at that time. Maybe, Gwen, what you ought to look into is taking that cash value from that insurance and buying a more cost-effective whole life or universal life insurance policy that could be a paid-up policy. So you can take that cash value, eliminate premiums, maybe reduce the death benefit a little bit, but with underwriting today, cancer treatments being much more successful, or longevity being much longer, you can get a lot better policy today than you could 10 or 15 years ago, with much more efficient premiums. So you may be able to take that and convert that into a paid-up policy. Okay. It's going to be difficult, I think, to find a quality term policy that's going to be around for you if you need long-term care, in-home health, or assisted living. You get permanent insurance, it's going to take care of all of those healthcare needs for you. Where term insurance, by the time it terms out, that's when you realize, boy, now I need long-term care, and you wish you had a permanent policy. So my advice would be to look for something maybe paid up, hold on to the whole life, look at a universal life. Okay. I don't know if term is the best answer at this point.
Yeah, so pump the brakes maybe, Gwen, on that action there and think it through a little bit more. Meet with Frank, talk a little bit more in depth about your situation. Obviously, knowing your age and your retirement situation and all these other moving parts would be really important to know as well. Right. But great question. One that comes up a lot in the office, it sounds like.
It sure does.
Yeah. Okay, very good. Again, if you've got any questions about something we've covered on the podcast today, don't hesitate to reach out to Frank and the team at Oliver Asset Management. You can go through the time blueprint planning process, helping you navigate through taxes, income, money, and estate planning so you can have a successful retirement. 720-897-TIME is the number to dial, or you can schedule a visit online by going to oliverassetmanagement.com. Frank, thanks for all the help on the show today. Appreciate it.
Walter.
We'll see everybody next time back here on the Time Blueprint.
Everybody.
Advisory services offered through Creative One Wealth, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Creative One Wealth, LLC, and Oliver Asset Management are unaffiliated entities. Licensed insurance professional. Respond and learn how financial products, including life insurance and annuities, can be used in various planning strategies for retirement. The information contained herein is based on our understanding of current tax law. The tax and legislative information may be subject to change and different interpretations. We recommend that you seek professional tax advice for applicability to your personal situation.